Good evening. My name is Fred Shiroko. I'm the chair of the City of Saginaw Planning Commission. This is a regular meeting of the City Planning Commission. When the petition, special land use, or site plan approval request in which you are interested is called, please come forward to the podium, give your name and address to the secretary for the record. After the appellant's presentation, others may comment. The meeting right now is videotaped and on Zoom. It's important that only one person speak at a time, and the audience observe respect for the speaker. An affirmative vote of the majority of the members present is necessary to grant a petition, special land use, or site plan approval. Recommendation on all petitions made by the commission are then forwarded to City Council. Are there any questions? If there are none, then the secretary will take roll.
Also, please remember to state city and state where you are broadcasting from. Tom Braley.
Saginaw, Michigan.
Fred Zawerko.
Excuse me, Saginaw, Michigan. It's been a while.
Zenobia Dallas.
Here, Saginaw, Michigan.
Robert Hanley.
Here, Saginaw, Michigan.
Yolanda Jones.
Here, Saginaw, Michigan.
Brenda Moore.
Saginaw, Michigan.
Jack Nash.
Present, Saginaw, Michigan.
Jim Nightingale is excused. William Ostash.
Present, Saginaw, Michigan.
All right. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from January 28th, 2021. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve, Tom Braley.
Second, Yolanda Jones.
Okay.
Support.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I have a couple of corrections. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, this is Commissioner Dallas. On page 2, under Part C, Case J 210052, the third from the last paragraph, it starts with Commissioner Hanley. It says asked about. I think that should be asked about. And then on page 3, under section E, case J 210053, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth paragraph from the bottom, there's Kimberly and her last name should be Stepansky. Those are all the corrections I have. Thank you.
Okay. Let me add. Okay. With those corrections, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved, Brenda.
Do I hear
Support,
a second?
Yolanda.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Okay. Approval of the agenda.
I would like to say we need to remove item C, the public hearing for amendments to the marijuana establishment zoning ordinance. Staff is still continuing to do some additional review, and we will bring amendments back next month.
Motion to approve.
I move the, yes, approve with the changes noted.
Support, Brenda.
Okay. Who motioned to approve?
Mayor Barbara, and then I believe the other was Yolanda.
Commissioner Dallas, no, that's Commissioner Dallas with the changes that Cassie recommended.
Stand corrected.
Thank you. And okay, thank you. And the person that seconds that motion?
Brenda. Brenda Moore.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Brenda Moore. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, new business. This is a public hearing for case number J210058, special use permit for a marijuana establishment located at 2205 North Michigan Avenue. Do we have anybody here for that case?
Yes, we do. This is Rick Beer in Birmingham, and we have our architect, engineer, and another applicant online, Lou Meeks, who was our primary.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us on the agenda today. This is Louis Meeks from Northville, Michigan.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'm the architect. Would you like for me to give just a brief overview of the project?
Yes, please.
Okay. As stated, the project is located at 2205 North Michigan Avenue in Saginaw, Michigan here. It currently is a abandoned gas station. The part of this project would be to remove the existing building that is on the site and rework the site to house a marijuana retail establishment for adult use marijuana and medical. Right now, the goal is to bring new building, more jobs, clean up the site, so there'll be some environmental remediation done to make sure the tanks were removed properly. The site's going to be reworked. We've worked with a civil engineer who's on the call as well. He can talk further to the stormwater remediation shortly. But the goal is to bring a building that kind of works with the context around it, is fairly modern, and kind of make that a beautiful entry right off the highway there. Happy to take any questions that anyone has. Wayne, do you have anything else to add site-wise for this?
Cody, thank you. Not at this time. The site is fairly self-explanatory. If anybody's got any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, same for me.
I have a question, Commissioner Moore. My question is,
Brenda, I'm sorry, Mayor Moore. We're in the public hearing.
Okay.
So this is the time for public comment on the public hearing, and questions can be asked after the hearing's closed and a motion's made.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay. So during the public hearing, is there anybody here that would like to comment on this case? Again, we'll begin the public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to comment on this case?
Yes.
Okay, state your name and where you're from and your address, please.
Rita Tsaluk, 39 Coral Place, Greenwood Village, Colorado. Thank you. Please let me know if it's okay to speak.
Yes, it is. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. I just looking for the consideration. I think it's not appropriate to conduct any more of the hearings for the Planning Commission until licensing is taking effect on those applications. I'm the CEO of Yuma Way. We are experienced operators that founded in Colorado and expanded to Michigan. We applied on one of the sites here and got denied just specifically for proximity reasons. We think it's done in error and not done correctly. We just recently got the license from City of Saginaw, and we're looking for opportunity. We're thinking that Planning Commission would like to revisit their efforts and just like other jurisdictions, consider giving approvals on a site plan after the licensing was issued in order that it was issued.
I'm a civil engineer and I have master's degree in civil engineering, years of land development experience, and I participated in countless hearings related to zoning, site plan approval, variances, specific use permits, and prepared presentation for clients. Although specific use permit process can vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, it's never a license approval, not a license promise. It's rather a license as confirmation of the proposed use meets the conditions already contained in the ordinance. So since we were denied for proximity reasons and no other reasons, we, great operator, we came up with a really good plan. We addressed all specific comments that the engineering and other departments have, and just were denied for specifically for proximity reason, which we don't think is the jurisdiction of planning commission, I'm sorry, to act on. And we would respectfully would like to revisit that process before any more permits will be granted, just because we think it's just going to be more problems going forward if city will continue conducting the process in this way. So thank you so much. I appreciate appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Do we have any more comments during this public comment phase of our meeting?
May I ask if I was expecting a public input in general? Is that going to be allowed? Floyd Clark speaking at the moment.
Public comment is at the end of the agenda.
All right, I wanted to clarify that. Then I'm going to address it here in one way. On this particular one, the result of the last lady's comments. In my opinion, it would appear appropriate to, I don't know if I would wait till after licensing by the state, but I do think that this commission has the ability to grant provisional approval to an applicant that would then be specifically subject to the zoning codes, stated to be subject to the zoning codes distancing requirements, to avoid the problem that I understood happened last month. In other words, all the commission would have to do, if all other considerations are met, and the only issue is one of distancing under the zoning ordinance, the commission could move to approve a particular application, quote, subject to the zoning code distancing requirements, close quote, and that would then be considered when it comes to a licensing issue. In the meantime, I don't agree that we should hold off until a license is granted by the state. But I think the state needs to know the city's position regarding the distancing requirement. Thank you.
Could I get your address, please, Lloyd?
Yes, 2112 Gratiot Avenue, Saginaw.
Thanks.
Do we have any others?
Yes, my name is Jessica Ruvain. Address is 12740 McCormick Street in Valley Village, California. And just let me know if it's appropriate for me to speak.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I am the Chief Compliance Officer for Yuma Way, and I want to thank the Planning Commission, Mayor, and residents for taking the time to hear our comments. And we certainly encourage the city to consider holding off on any site plan approvals until this item is resolved. Maybe not with respect to the state, but on the city level, site plans should be approved consistently and apply a consistent standard. And so I think if the city is considering those amendments, I think it would be more appropriate for the city to do so that way. As our CEO mentioned, we met all of the requirements on the last phase in our site plan and were denied based on zoning. And it would seem prudent for the city to kind of cease issuing any other licenses until they can kind of determine the appropriate way to handle, I think, the distancing requirements so that people don't get kind of butted out inappropriately. So it would seem to make most sense that you go with a provisional license and work out the zoning ordinance and then go ahead and move forward with site plan approval for all of the cannabis companies. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that would like to comment?
Yes, Anthony Denha, 3446 State Street, Saginaw. I think that it's important that the commission understands that an ordinance has already been adopted. Buffers have already been put in place. This isn't really a question on whether a site should or shouldn't be approved. I think the planning commission should stick to what the ordinance has to offer. It was a very well put together ordinance. Those buffers were put well into place between marijuana establishments. Those cannabis companies that have been site plan approved with special use with a special use permit being granted should be how that 500-foot buffer is established. So as it relates to cannabis companies looking to be approved in today's meeting or meetings going forward, I think the Planning Commission should look at the ordinance that's currently adopted and that is in place and base those decisions off that ordinance alone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that would like to address us, please?
Yes, Trevor Wisniewski. Can you hear me? Sorry. Yeah, Trevor Wisniewski, Kego Harbor, the president of Great Lakes Natural. I apologize, I'm having issues with my video. I would like to see that the commission keep the course as the ordinance is written and has been applied with no changes going forward. I have several locations approved throughout the city, and with the renovations, build outs, and site plan improvements, we are budgeting well over $3 million we are going to be spending in the community. I relied on your ordinance, your application of it, and the application procedure to make my business decisions. If I knew the intention was to change things and potentially make accommodations for groups that did not follow the process, it would have definitely changed my direction. We followed the rules. We applied for our special use permit last year, as did several groups. To be able to submit our application in full, which the business ordinance clearly says a complete application needs to be submitted, which includes zoning approval. We did that. Last year we got our special use permits. We applied for our business licenses after that, and we had a complete application submitted. If you apply for your business license prior to getting a special use permit, you do not have a complete application. The ordinance clearly says that upon a deficiency, you have 5 days to remedy it. Otherwise, your application is denied. And there is no way to be able to accommodate that with the group that did get denied last month because they put the horse before the cart. All the other of us that do have licensing and have followed the rules have been following them as instructed by the city. And we just, respectfully say that you stay the course and proceed with the ordinance as you have interpreted it and applied it. Thank you.
Chair, if I could just interject for a moment, I do want to remind the public that we are currently in a public hearing with regard to a special use permit application for a marijuana establishment located at 2205 North Michigan. I think we're getting a little bit off course. The proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance were pulled from the agenda and will not be considered tonight. So I just want to make certain that the public hearing remains focused on 2205 North Michigan's application, and that public input for any other topics will be available at the end of the meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on the behalf of the case at 2205 North Michigan?
Chairman Fred, Tom Braley.
Yes, sir.
Just a question on the proposed site. How's the parking situation? Just to confirm the scenario with parking.
And I think questions from the commission would come after a motion is made and after the public hearing's closed.
Right.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right. Do we have anybody else that would like to speak on this case? Okay. With that, I would like to ask for a motion.
I move that the public hearing for case J210058, special use permit for marijuana retail establishment to be located at 2205 North Michigan Avenue, be closed.
Support.
Thank you. All righty. Okay, now we can entertain questions. Is that correct?
A motion on the table first.
Oh, I'm sorry. And do I have a second on that? I'm sorry.
Second. Commissioner Hanley seconded.
Thank you.
I can't make.
All in favor?
Someone else needs to make the motion.
Oh, wait,
I made the motion, Commissioner Dallas.
I seconded the motion to close the hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we close the public hearing portion of this. Do we have any questions regarding this?
Have a motion.
Commissioner Moore, you indicated jobs. What are you talking about? I'm looking at your layout. It's pretty big. How many jobs are you talking about?
Rick Beer or Lewis Meeks, can you weigh in on the number of jobs you guys plan as part of this project and kind of give an overview on the operations for that?
Yeah, this is Lewis Meeks. So we will have approximately 10 to 12 employees. There'll be a manager, assistant manager, full-time security guard. We're going to hire first Saginaw, of course, and that's what it'll take to run a successful dispensary provisioning center in Saginaw, I believe.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think we need a motion to approve before we have the discussion.
Thank you. All right, do I hear a motion to approve special use permit for marijuana establishment at 2205 North Michigan Avenue?
I so move, Commissioner Dallas.
Support, Commissioner Hanley.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Ask for further discussion and.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm trying to look at my little cheat sheet here. Okay, thank you. All right. we're going to open this up to discussion. And Brenda, do you have anything?
No, I already asked my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else on the commission have any questions? Okay, there aren't any more questions. Okay, so we have a motion on the table. So do we have a motion, excuse me, all in favor on this motion as stated to approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do you want to take a roll call on that, Cassie? Cassie? Oh,
I
think
have a
she's
horrible
frozen.
connection. Am I muted yet?
You are now.
Okay. Bob, if this doesn't get better, you might have to do some of
I think she froze again. Do you want to go, Bob?
Commissioner Braley,
Support.
Commissioner Dallas,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Ostash,
Yes.
Commissioner Zwerko.
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you.
Did I miss anybody?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, going to our next item. And again, item B on our agenda, it is a public hearing for case number J 21-0059, special use permit for a marijuana establishment located at 2401 East Holland. Again, we will now begin the public hearing. Excuse me. Who is here to discuss this case?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zaid. I'm representing ZA Design Build and Joyology. I'm the designer, and I'm out of Farmington Hills, Michigan. And I believe Mr. Soela is also here. He's our civil engineer. Hi, Alan. And if you have any questions towards that matter, he'll be happy to answer any of those questions. I'll be happy to answer any design questions.
Okay, can you present your case to us right now?
Yes, I'll be happy to present it. So currently 2401 East Holland is an existing building. It is currently being operated, I believe, as a minor auto repair. Our plan is to keep the building as is structurally, take half of the space which is to the east of the property for the provisioning center, leave the other half for a future tenant, alter the facade, and of course revamp pretty much the entire site. We want to revamp half of the site currently because it meets the current standards for parking requirements, also with a dumpster enclosure and a loading area. And then the side that is to the north of where we're presenting to put the fence, that would be for a future project. Right now, currently, that north part of the property is being used to store cars. It's not in the best of shape, so we're hoping to take down the fence. And the area that we're not using, the green area to the north that we're not utilizing, we would spread some sod and keep it maintained until a future project presents itself.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're gonna go into, since this is actually a public hearing, we're gonna go into the public hearing phase of this. Is there anybody here that would like to comment on this case? Okay.
Can anybody hear me?
Okay. Can you state that again, please?
Yes, my name's Ken MacDonald. I'm a 2000 lawyer with the broadcast company.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know whether I'm in favor or opposed. I'm here just to learn that that piece of property is mightily in disrepair. With high winds, the fence comes down, and it's not exactly a nice site at present. So I don't know whether I'm in favor or opposed, but I thought I'd at least join the group and see some folks that I know. But with that, I'll let it be.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this case? Case number J21-0059. Okay, if there's no other, if there's nobody else that would like to comment on this, we'll close the public hearing part of this. And do I have a motion to close the public hearing part of this?
Yes, this is Commissioner Dallas. I move that we close the public hearing for case J21-0059, special use permit for marijuana retail establishment to be located at 2401 East Holland.
Second, Braley.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, do I hear a motion right now to approve J21-0059 special use permit for marijuana establishment at 2401 East Holland?
I move approval of the proposal on East Holland.
Thank you.
Second, Braley.
Dallas?
Okay, Braley came in first. Miss Dallas. Thank you. All right. Now, do we have any discussion on this before we take a final vote on this? Any commissioners like to discuss this?
I just want to know, on the north end of that lot, how far are you going to go back from the building to Remington Street? What are they going to do with? What are they going to do with the car? The car is behind that building.
The cars will be completely removed at that point. The new owners would obviously retain this property. So that fenced-in area that Kenneth was speaking of, where it's always falling down, it's like an 8-foot corrugated metal fence, will be completely removed from the site in its entirety. Half of the site on the south will be new parking, curb and gutter, a new ingress egress, a reface of the building, and the north half of the site will be basically sod for right now, but fence being removed. So it'll open up the site a little bit, and then God willing, we'll have a future project there once the site becomes more viable, and then another building more than likely will go on the north side of the building, but the cars will be removed in their entirety from the site.
So this is a question for staff. How far away is that property from the church on Remington Street?
It meets the setback requirements.
Yeah, but I'm just not the setback, but how far away is it from the church that's on Remington Street?
I'm not sure I can answer that right quick off the top of my head here, but let me see if I can't get you that answer.
I have a question.
Yes,
How many jobs will this create?
sure. So the new owner of Geology, they typically start out with 20 to 25 employees. They currently have 4 locations with 150 employees for retail. So they typically always start with about 20 to 25, but their objective is always to get up to from anywhere from 30 to 50 employees eventually. They, like I said, they currently have 4 retail spaces with about 150 employees. And that includes the back office and the support marketing group. That's where they're at right now.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I do have a question. Once this is approved, when is this supposed to start and complete?
I believe the start will be immediately. We would then go in for construction documents for the facade alteration and the approval of the storm management civil engineering. Depending on how quickly the city gives us an approval, I don't see this being, especially now that we're hitting the better part of the year from a weather standpoint, I don't see this being more than a 4 to 6 month project to complete from beginning to end with the storm management, which is quite intense, as you can see from our drawings. And that includes the interior build out also and the facade alteration, of course.
I have an answer for Commissioner Nash. It's approximately 400 feet from where the marijuana retail establishment would be to the property line of the church.
Of course. That's what the project is. Realistic.
Perfect. That's what I was thinking.
Hey Bob, this is Councilman or Commissioner Ostash. Would that be from the side of the building?
Yeah, it's from the side of their building to the south property line of the church.
Okay.
So, Commissioner Moore. So, what did we say from churches? Did we say 100 feet? Did we say 500 feet?
We've got 100 feet from a church, Ms. Moore.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Yes, I have one. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The security. What is your security process? Because that's a big point.
We have a security plan?
Yeah, we have a security plan.
Give me 1 second. I'm consulting with one of the owners who's next to me. They have a security plan actually in place, which is the same model that they, model after with their other locations.
I mean, we have our whole facility is cameraed. If they want to see how we have cameras that's one part of the security plan. We have control access, 24-hour monitor security.
So to start with, they have, of course, the camera system, 24-hour monitoring. Currently, I don't know if you can see behind me, you can kind of see one of their other spaces. It's kind of hard to see. The site itself is fenced in on all sides. Well, not all sides, because the building takes over. It basically encloses the site over to the east part of the property, and the building itself is gated. I'm sorry, the site itself is gated. There will be a gate at the ingress egress after closing. There will be plenty of lighting that'll be reflected in the construction document on the site via light poles and also building wall packs. Again, 24-hour monitoring, camera system.
We have security guards.
You have a security guard on site? Okay, they have a security guard on site. I just learned right now.
It's all in the staff. I mean, I know the business plan that we have like a night guard, daytime guard, that kind of thing. So somebody in the parking lot. Besides our regular key control access where people, security checks in.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard that, Commissioner Moore. Did you hear that, Commissioner Moore?
I did. Please don't think that I'm asking it. I asked everybody about jobs, but Yolanda beat me about the jobs, and I asked about the security process. So thank you.
You're very welcome. We're here to answer all your questions.
Thank you.
Just so everyone knows that the security plan is part of the application for the site plan review, and those then are forwarded to the Saginaw Police Department for review. They've come back and approved their security plan.
Thank you, Mr. Bob.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Dallas. I have just a comment. Looking at your construction plans, I'm looking at, I guess it's page A2, it looks like. So on the side of this building, you will have Joyology? Is that what you were?
Yes, ma'am. So Joyology, the name of the business, will be on the front of the building, which is the south side of the building, the south side of the street.
So that'll be facing
That will be on East Holland.
East Holland. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a technical question just for staff. The other gentleman that spoke, doesn't he have to give his name and address?
I wasn't really counting that guy because I couldn't see him. I was just gonna put Zaid, if that's okay.
Zaid is me.
Zaid.
Yeah. That's,
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
the guy off next to you, we can't see and you repeated
Oh,
it
I'm
all, so
sorry.
I'm just,
Yeah. He's my.
That's okay.
He's my evil twin. He doesn't
yeah.
count.
I'm just gonna count you as making what you repeated what he said, yeah.
Thank you.
Details.
Good detail.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
We're at
Case
the
number
roll
J.
call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I don't think we voted on it yet. I think we had the motion in the second.
Right,
We
so we had a
approve it?
motion and a second. Now I'll do a roll call and everybody
Okay,
can
thank
say
you.
yay or
Thank
nay.
you.
That's okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. Tom Brayley,
Support.
Zenobia Dallas,
Yes.
Robert Hanley,
Yes.
Yolanda Jones,
Yes.
Brenda Moore,
Yes.
Jack Nash,
Yes.
Jim Nightingale. Oh, sorry, he's absent. Bill Ossash
Yes.
and Fred Zawerko.
Yes.
All right. Motion was approved.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is amendments to the City of Saginaw Planning Commission bylaws.
Get us out. Okay.
So this was a request from you guys. Sorry, I can't have my camera on. It's working much better without my camera on. So I'm just gonna leave it off. But this was requested by a few different commissioners that I modify the bylaws a little bit to mirror more of what City Council does to limit speakers. So I exactly mirrored it with just changing City Council to Planning Commission members. I also eliminated the need for them to call ahead of time and be scheduled to speak. So anyone could still join the call and choose to speak, but they will be limited to 3 minutes, except for the primary presenter who gets 10 minutes to explain the project. Did that come through okay? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I guess I have no questions or input on this. Do we have a motion to approve the item for the amendments to the Planning Commission bylaws?
This is Commissioner Dallas. I do have a couple of comments.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at Article 2 membership, number 2, and then number 3. It looks like there's a little bit of repetition in those two. The latter half of Section 2, it looks like it simply mirrors what Section 3 is.
Yes, it does.
I think those are your existing bylaws that are already in place.
Mhm.
The only changes that are being proposed are with regard to Article 5.
That are in red?
Yep.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Everything in black is already in place.
Thank you.
Do,
I'm sorry.
do we need a motion to approve this before we have the discussion?
So moved, Brent.
Yes, Jones.
Okay, I guess we have the motion on the table. It was Brenda, correct, that our motion came from, and then Yolanda seconded. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion on this?
Yes, Article 5, public hearings. Section 2, again, each speaker shall begin by stating their name, perhaps and address would be appropriate there.
Okay.
Well, if you're going by what the city said, we took out address. Or what council does.
Whichever. Whichever way.
I don't need you talking like that, Cassie.
You can't see me, so you don't know how I'm talking. That's why I wish I had my video on.
I know your voice, okay? I work with you.
Ugh.
So I know I'm okay.
I support.
Address is fine.
And who's that? Who was getting the support to? Who motioned first? Are we done with any changes or additions to the red area? Okay, so Brenda, you put your motion out there to approve, correct? Who
Yeah.
seconded? Yolanda. Okay, all right. So, are you gonna do roll call, Cassie, on approval?
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on, sorry. Okay, Tom Braley,
Support.
Zenobia Dallas,
Yes.
Robert Hanley,
Yes.
Yolanda Jones,
Support.
Brenda Moore,
Support.
Jack Nash,
Support.
Bill Ostash,
Support.
and Fred Zwerko.
Support.
Okay, I'll make those changes.
Thank you. Okay,
Unless there's a layover provision in your bylaws, those would then apply to public input tonight.
It is, but it's broken. It won't work. I keep
Where's that?
Okay. There was a portion in here that says that any amendments can be made by the planning commission. The very last article says these bylaws may be amended at a regular planning commission or a regular meeting of the commission by affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members present. It didn't say public hearing?
No.
What do you think?
I think they would apply tonight. Yep.
Okay.
okay. Can we move on to our next item? And that is election of officers. I would like to nominate somebody for chair if we're okay with that. Are we okay with that, Cassie?
Yep, go ahead, Fred.
I'd like to nominate Zenobia Dallas as our next chairperson for this commission.
Tom Braley supports.
Jack Nash, support.
Zenobia, do you accept?
Yeah, do you accept, Zenobia? Please say yes.
I guess I do. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor for Zenobia as being our new chairperson?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And do we have to do a vice chair now? Do we hear any nominations for vice chair?
Tom Braley nominates Jack Nash.
I won't do both of them because I'm still on zoning.
Okay. Any nominations for vice chair?
The current vice chair, if you're curious, is Bob Hanley. And we also, after this, have a secretary position that is currently Tom Braley.
I nominate Robert Hanley again.
I support Tom Braley. Support Robert Hanley.
Thank you.
I support Maria Dallas showing up.
Dallas doesn't miss very many meetings, so she's normally here.
Okay. Do you accept that, Bob?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Do I hear any nominations for secretary?
I nominate Tom Braley.
Support.
Wonderful. Do you accept that, Tom? Well, we see a picture now, but we see you
I
now.
must, if I must.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. All righty. We have that done. So old business. Do we have any old business? Staff.
No, we don't.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? Any more public comments?
Yes, this is Jessica Rubin. And address again is 1270 McCormick Street in Valley Village, California, 91607.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, dear Planning Commission, Mayor, and residents, I'd like to thank you again for the opportunity to speak this evening. I am a New York licensed attorney and Chief Compliance Officer for Yuma Way, a multi-state cannabis operator with current Michigan operations in Bay City. We are honored to have received a provisional marijuana retail license in the city of Saginaw, and we are delighted at the prospect of continuing to work to create jobs and opportunities in the city and expand our operations in the area. As Chief Compliance Officer of Yuma Way, my job is to make sure that we fully comply with all laws and applications procedures for every jurisdiction in which we apply. At every step of the way, my team and I were in close coordination with the planning department in preparing and submitting our marijuana license and site plan application for a location at 1321 Court Street. In fact, we were the first applicant to submit the marijuana establishment application. For the guidance and the instructions of the planning and city clerk departments, we invested a great deal of time and significant resources in preparing engineering drawings, reaching out to 278 businesses and residents in the area, preparing a comprehensive business plan, security plan, safety plan, while meeting and exceeding expectations of the city in every way. We received a provisional marijuana license to operate a facility at this location. A member of the public mentioned tonight that we put the cart before the horse. That's simply not true. We simply complied with every stipulated city requirement. Saginaw's own city attorney stated during our site plan review on January 26th that they were not to make a decision on marijuana buffer zoning between facilities at that time. And despite complying in every single way with the city's guidance, and despite public support for our facility, and despite the interpretation and clarification of the law by the city attorney, some planning commission members unfortunately mistakenly misapplied the ordinance as they denied our application solely on the basis of another applicant having already obtained a special use permit within 500 feet. Not a single commission person objected to our site plan drawings, parking, or any other basis relevant to a special use permit determination. We would like to urge the planning department to expeditiously amend the zoning ordinance as an equitable form of relief from prior determinations and as an opportunity for other companies and jobs to enter Saginaw, and not create a monopoly or a special advantage for just a few companies on licenses.
Thank you. Any more comments or not?
If I may,
Thank you.
Chair Zerko, yes.
Yes,
I'm
go
Floyd
ahead.
Clark. I'm Floyd Clark, 2112 Gratiot Avenue, Saginaw. Originally, I had planned on speaking regarding the proposed change to the zoning ordinance distancing for retail facility, marijuana retail facilities from 500 to 100 feet. Because that has been pulled, I won't spend much time on it, but I don't think that should happen. I think that that limit is reasonable. The state has approved 1,000 feet for distancing for all marijuana facilities from schools. And if the state has approved 1,000, certainly 500 is a reasonable number. And there's other reasons I would disagree with any change to reduce it. But aside from that, it seems to me that the original reason for this whole issue to arise was what the last speaker just mentioned, that there was a denial of their permit on the basis of distancing, which I think should not have been grounds in that particular instance, and nor in any future instance where all the site plan issues are met, yet there are distancing issues. In those situations, it seems to me, as I mentioned earlier in the first public hearing, that the appropriate action by your commission would be to make, just like the provisional request, a provisional approval subject to your zoning code distancing requirements. Then at the time of issuance of any license by the state, that would be subject to those decisions, those limitations, those restrictions. So it would solve both the problem here and in the future. And I would suggest it may be appropriate for the commission to revisit that issue, approve that site plan from last month, but subject to the existing distancing requirements. Then it is up to the state to approve whatever license that they can, subject to that license requirement. I don't know all the details of how this issue came up in the first place, but it does concern me that the commission hasn't worked out a resolution. I don't think reducing the distancing requirement is the answer, because that becomes the only answer you have in the future anytime anyone questions the distancing requirements. I don't think that's an answer. I think making it subject to your distancing requirements as they exist is the answer, and it can be done by this commission. So I guess I would urge the commission to revisit the last one from last month. One of the members of the commission who was on that decision, who was on the winning decision at that last meeting, has the authority at this meeting to make a motion to revisit it, and then could make the motion to approve subject to the existing zoning requirements.
I'm sorry,
That's
your
what
time is up, so if you want to
Thank
finish your
you.
thought, please.
Thank you. That's what I would urge.
I would ask to speak.
Yeah, and who is?
My name is Russell. My name is Russell Inman. I reside at 110 Braley Street, Saginaw, Michigan.
Thank you. Go ahead.
At the last Planning Commission meeting, I was shocked as I watched this body be advised to ignore the 500-foot buffer zone between retail establishments. I was shocked because it was suggested that this body selectively enforce some buffers and not others. According to the ordinance, this is absolutely the proper place to enforce these buffers. If the buffers were just meant to be suggestions, then why would they have been included and detailed in the ordinance? As this board now considers or will consider at a future date upon the recommendation of staff, changing that 500-foot buffer to something less, seemingly just to appease an applicant that was previously denied, it's my belief that this action would substantially change one of the original intents of the ordinance. And that is, in fact, spreading out the benefits of the new developments all over the community and not just focused in one or two or a few areas. If indeed staff, at the urging of this board, is considering changes to this ordinance, I would like to request, as a citizen of the city and owner of many properties, that also the riverfront mixed use zone be added to this ordinance as well. Why should, if we can just change buffers and change the zoning where it's allowed, why don't we just add that zone as well? And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Hello, Bill Georges, 110 Brayley as well. We own, again, several buildings in the riverfront mixed use area, and that is a consideration. We've looked at a couple of them, and several people have said, gee, it would be really nice if the riverfront mixed use or Old Town area were available. And so, you know, it would obviously give us an opportunity for additional development. So we've got one project that we're working on right now that we're very excited for. It's not marijuana related, but it's going to bring some jobs and some things into the city and into the riverfront mixed use. But that would also give us opportunity to develop other properties. So if the commission or the city is going to revisit that's one thing that we would like to revisit as well. I do agree that, you know, the 500 was put in there for a reason. And, you know, before it's just changed, I don't want to say arbitrarily. I do think, you know, we need to look at, you know, the density of stores and, you know, how many do we need and what will be the capacity and, you know, what was the rationale for the original 500-foot buffer. And, you know, we'll continue to watch it and see. And, you know, but if there's going to be a change, you know, like I say, or the ordinance be reopened, you know, that's one of the things we would like to look at is, you know, the potential for riverfront mixed use. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any more comments?
Yes, Rita Tsaluk, 39 Coral Place, Greenwood Village, Colorado, 80111, if I may.
Go ahead.
So thank you so much, and I'm so let me turn on my video, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you again today. I just wanted to mention that there was a lot of people in this hearing misspoke and have their facts wrong. So I want to clarify that. We did act in accordance with city ordinance, and everything that was published within the city also confirmed every step of the way with the city staff. And if somebody received unfair competitive advantage, knowing that public hearing decision would negate the city ordinance and acted in that way, it should not be right. So we're really hoping that whichever way city would go, and I appreciate comments of Mr. Clark. I think I completely agree with him, but I wouldn't comment on distance requirements or any other zoning use. I think it's up to the city residents and city staff and commission. But what I wanted to make sure is that city does the right things, the ethical things, the lawful things, and we will be compliant operator and a good partner to the city going forward. And what I can tell from the meetings that we attended, that city is listening and city is willing to understand that if there is anything issued incorrectly, the city will work with everybody to understand and do things right. And I appreciate it. I think the etiquette and integrity and lawfulness is what we mostly concerned about. And in addition to everything we invested into this project, and we think that we're going to be the most competitive, the most compliant, the most experienced operator, somebody you can rely on, and we will be good partners to the city. I appreciate you again the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to ask this again. Does anybody else would like to speak during the public comment section?
Hi, Fred. This is Noah Harfouche. I'd like to make public comment if that's okay, and if it's if it's fine with planning here for me to do so.
Yes, please state your address, please.
It's Noah Harfouche. My address is 3268 Empire Drive, Rochester Hills, Michigan, 48309.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So, from what I've understood and from what I'm hearing today, is that there's been internal recommendations for reducing the buffer requirements from 500 feet to 100 feet. And from what I am understanding is that that issue is not going to be discussed or brought up for adoption today. And I take issue with some of the things that are happening, because especially with respect to this buffer requirement, because Saginaw as a city adopted an ordinance, and it was explicit and expressed in that ordinance that the city and the city clerk will be taking adequate steps for licensing businesses for the purposes of opening a marijuana facility. What I'm seeing happening at planning is essentially a circumvention of what city council is supposed to do and what the city clerk under the ordinance is supposed to do, which is to lay out the groundwork and to initiate the beginning of the buffer. And by doing so, we're really just taking away the entire applicability of the ordinance itself, because what we're saying is, no, the city clerk is not who establishes what businesses are suitable. What we're saying is planning commission is what is going to establish what is suitable and who is suitable for a specific location. That's crazy. We can't have that, because if that is your interpretation as planning, that we're going to overstep the bounds of what city clerk is supposed to do, what city council is supposed to do with its ordinances, then we would have voted everybody in planning commission into city council, and we haven't done that. And so don't overstep the boundaries. Don't overstep, what you are supposed to do as a commission. Let the process go through the city clerk. And if you don't, it's only going to create issues in Saginaw. I mean, I can only imagine the people that are going to be lined up outside of the courthouse that are prepared to file lawsuits to try to avoid what's been happening here, which is really a malfeasance against these guys that are applying, that have every intention to do good business in Saginaw, yet we're telling them we're not deciding who is the best suited for this location and for this facility and for this job. We are deciding who is the best location. That's not what these ordinances are for. We are supposed to use the power to decide who can do the best business. And by just zoning people out through planning and through site plan review, instead of letting the city clerk make those decisions, that's essentially what you're doing. So I appreciate your guys' time and your consideration for letting me speak today. I hope that everyone here makes the right decision moving forward. There's steps that can be taken for really stepping back from some of the decisions that were made. And I'm afraid that if that's not done, then we're going to have some serious litigation to come from this. That's not good for the city or anybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments?
Yes, Trevor Wisniewski, Kego Harbor, Michigan. I would like to see the commission keep the course as the ordinance has been written and applied and interpreted, with no changes going forward. The problem that we're seeing with having this approval of multiple special use permits within 500 feet is the way that the ordinance approves a location, meaning that if you give multiple special use permits within 500 feet, that means all of us that got awarded it have to rush to our finish to get a certificate of occupancy, to finish our dispensary, to get a state license, and the first one that gets it wins. And the other three people that were spending $1 million each to build out, now they're just out of luck because they're within 500 feet of you. That's the big problem. And that's why enforcing the 500-foot buffer at this level at the Planning Commission is correct. It is in your ordinance, not the clerk's ordinance. There's nothing spoken about buffer zones or sensitive use areas in the clerk's ordinance. It's in the Planning Commission ordinance. And if you do approve multiple special use permits within the 500 feet and just say whoever gets state licensed first gets the golden ticket, you're going to put undue hardship on multiple companies because they're going to be spending $500,000 to $1 million building out, and then they just get caught without anything because someone else finished before they did. I do have several locations approved, and we followed the rules. We did apply for our special use permits. The business license clearly states that zoning compliance is part of the application. So I'm shocked to hear that someone got awarded a license without zoning compliance. That might be something for someone to look into because it clearly says zoning compliance has to be a part of your application to get a provisionary license. So that is surprising for me to hear that. Again, I'd like to see that the commission keep the course as the ordinance is written and has been applied. It is the best course of action for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other comments?
Yes, Anthony Denha, 3446 State Street, Saginaw, Michigan. I'd like to also agree with what Trevor had to say. I think the Planning Commission is the decision maker based on the ordinance on that 500-foot buffer. Again, if a cannabis user has been approved with special use for their location, that 500-foot buffer should be applied based on your ordinance. And if I remember correctly, that operator has 1 year to complete their project. If they don't, then that license is forfeited, and then that 500-foot buffer should be removed and then allow competition to come in and establish a new location within that 500-foot buffer. Furthermore, when you have a new construction project compared to an existing building, it's gonna, the customer or the business operator that has an existing building is going to complete their construction sooner than somebody that's doing new construction. So if you have two stores, one being existing and one being new construction within 500 foot of each other, the guy that's is an existing building is going to be completed first. Then what is the guy going to do that's put over $1 million in his new construction? What does he plan to do now that he's within the 500 foot buffer of the guy that was existing? So it is very, in my opinion, and how we've read the ordinance, it is the Planning Commission's duty to establish that 500-foot buffer based on approval and based on special use. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any more comments?
If I may,
Go ahead.
Kirill Merkelov here, Yuma out of Denver, Colorado, 1385 South Colorado Boulevard, Denver, Colorado, 80222. I thank you for this opportunity to speak, Honorable Madam Mayor and the Honorable Commissioners. Now, we've heard all sides of the story here. I, once again, do believe that there's a misunderstanding or possibly a misinterpretation or confusion about the basically a decision enforcing boundaries here. Now, again, we're talking about the 500-foot buffer. Last meeting, just about a month ago, this question did come up during the public hearing. One of the commission members did have a question about it and was not sure, at which point they asked city attorney, who I believe is present, a question to that effect. City attorney clearly responded with the interpretation of the 500-foot buffer application. And that was that the city clerk's office is the one to apply that. Now, in my opinion, she's absolutely right. She did brought forth the clarification and justification for both. In fact, if two companies were to put on the same planning meeting, then if the first one were to get the approval of the special use permit, would that automatically disqualify the second one? That is silly. That is absolutely preposterous. Only because they got the shorter end of the stick, they were going second, they were automatically kicked out by the first? No. The ordinance clearly states 500-foot buffer to another marijuana establishment. Another marijuana establishment is an establishment that must have a marijuana operating license. In fact, we do have a marijuana license from the city of Saginaw. In fact, what this means is that the other company must now be denied. There's no other way to read that. We have the license at such and such location. Anything within 500 foot must be denied. That's what the ordinance says. Now, I believe that we're here to find solutions, not the problems. If there is a way for the other company to be competitive and bring value to the city, to the residents, to maybe competitive business practices, I'm all for it. But they should be the one asking for variance, not the other way around. We now have a license, and their license must be denied.
Your time is up.
Amy, would it be appropriate for you to explain the difference between a provisional license and a full business license, or not?
Yes.
I think there's a lot of confusion here.
Sure. There's 2 steps in receiving a business license from the city clerk. The first is to make application for that business license, and the city clerk at that point does a general review of the application, verifies that all required components of that application have been provided. And if all required components of that application have been provided, she then issues a provisional license. That provisional license does not authorize anybody to conduct business as a marijuana establishment in the city of Saginaw. What that allows an applicant to do then is go back to the state and show the state that they've received the provisional license from the city, and they can follow through on getting all of their requirements met to receive their state license. And upon fully receiving their state license and otherwise meeting all the requirements of the city, they would then receive their city business license.
Мы получили license. Они его выродили.
Я не знаю if it did.
They did.
And we're going to come back, Pete. And Amy, this is Commissioner Ostash. At that point, which you just described, according to the ordinance, that establishes the business, which then establishes the buffer. Which I think was the part that was misunderstood.
That was staff's original interpretation of the ordinance, correct?
Right. Yep.
Please note, honorable members of this committee, this is the second time you're hearing the interpretation you heard a month ago.
You already had an opportunity to speak, sir.
Thank you. All right, do we have any other speakers? Okay, if no, then I want to hear a motion to adjourn the meeting for tonight.
Motion to adjourn, Thomas Braley.
Can I make
And
Second, Dallas.
all in favor?
I'd like to make a comment before we adjourn.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So this is more of a question for the attorney. Is there a way, because I know that we moved right to old business, we went right into public comment. I think this would be an opportunity for the commission in some way to go back and speak about this old business. Is there a way we can do that?
And
You're
me, you
muted. You're on mute.
I think there needs to be some sort of a motion made. The issue with regard to Yuma Way special use permit was decided at the last planning commission meeting. So I think to raise that topic again, there would need to be probably the most appropriate motion would be a motion to reconsider.
Okay. So, in going along with what under public comment, when Mr. Floyd Clark had spoke, he talked about the commission to be able to discuss this for reconsideration. I just want the commissioners to know that under parliamentary procedure, this is the meeting that we have the chance to make that motion to discuss that case over again. So at this point, I'm going to make a motion to reconsider.
Support.
From our last meeting, just a second, from the last meeting, case J21-0053 for a special use permit for marijuana in the city of Saginaw.
Support.
Amy, could I ask for your clarification on this? I believe the body that won the motion has to bring it back to the table. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I believe Commissioner Ostash was a part of that majority vote.
Right. I just want to make that clarification.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Amy, can I ask a question? Can I support it, or do they have to support it? Because I was not on the I wasn't part of the decline. So does it have to be the total body or just one motion?
As I understand it, the maker of the motion has to be from that majority. So yes. I think it's fine that you supported it, Yolanda.
What was the majority?
The majority vote on that issue at the last meeting was to not approve.
Right.
Right. So right. Everybody that voted no, and I was a no vote, so I can reconsider.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
We'd like to discuss it.
Oh, you want to discuss? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, so we can open discussion.
Yeah, go ahead. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, and the reason why I wanted to make this motion for reconsideration, because after thoroughly going through everything, listening to our comments tonight, and looking at our ordinance, that establishment does happen at the time that the state and local licenses are issued. I've done a lot of research on this, and I went back and so that's why I'm making this motion, so that we, as a commission, can reconsider the vote that happened and take another vote on it.
So just to be clear, Commissioner Braley, if you voted no last time, you vote no again? Is that the idea?
Change your vote?
No, the question was who can make the motion to reconsider, and since the no's were the majority, the maker of the motion to reconsider has to be one of those no votes. But that doesn't mean that you have to vote no again.
No, fair enough, fair enough.
Anyone else?
For clarification to the attorney, so what I'm doing is I'm reconsidering the motion from the last meeting. If we were to vote and approve this would approve the case from the last meeting.
That's my understanding as well. I'm just doing a quick reference check in Robert's rules to confirm that there doesn't need to be a second subsequent motion, but I believe the motion to reconsider is rehearing effectively that motion.
Yeah, what I'm seeing here is that if the vote is first taken, whether to reconsider, then if approved, the main motion is again on the floor to be debated. And the question cannot be considered more than twice. So this would be the second time that we're considering the question from the last meeting.
So now I have a question. So this is going to be on next month's agenda, is that correct?
No.
Or is this going to be decided here?
Right, this is happening now.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion? Okay.
Actually, Commissioner Dallas, I do have I think a comment or maybe a point of clarification. So again, my understanding is getting the license approval does not necessarily mean that you have the special use permit approval. Is that correct?
That is correct. So you can effectively apply to the city clerk for your provisional license without yet having obtained special use approval. It has to be obtained before you receive that final license, but it does not technically have to be obtained to receive your provisional license.
Thank you.
I have a question to the city attorney as well. I was not here at the last meeting. Does this mean that I abstain or vote this time?
If the matter is being reconsidered, I believe you can participate in that reconsideration.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Hanley, I need a clarification. Does this body, the Planning Commission, have any control over the distance setbacks for marijuana establishments or any other, like for example, a liquor establishment that was close to a church? Do we have any responsibility there, or any power, I should say?
I think once marijuana establishments become licensed and you have facilities from which those setbacks would be measured, then it becomes this body's, part of this body's review to determine whether there's compliance with those setbacks under the zoning code.
Okay.
Question, Commissioner Braley. Dumb it down for us, Attorney Amy. Go ahead.
I'm not sure what your question is.
My question is, if we vote whatever we are voting on, do we vote the way we voted the last time? If we believe in what we voted on, or are we voting on something differently?
A motion to reconsider allows you to reconsider the materials that you're voting on.
Right. You could change your
So
vote.
you can change your vote.
Thank you.
Otherwise, there would be no point to a motion to reconsideration if you had to vote the same way.
Also, to another point of clarification for the attorney, you were just mentioning about the licensed establishment once it's been licensed through the city. If another business was to come along and there was then a legal licensed establishment, it'd be through the clerk's process at that time, most likely, that they would let the applicant know that there's a licensed establishment within the 500 feet. And then the applicant at that point would probably make their decision not to apply.
Yeah, depending on who they reached out to first. Certainly if they reached out to planning first, planning would probably make that same observation.
Right. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Okay, we had a motion and a second. Okay. All those in favor? Do you want, Cassie, you want to do a roll call?
Yep, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Tom Braley,
Abstain.
Zenobia Dallas,
Yes.
Robert Hanley,
Yes.
Yolanda Jones,
Yes.
Brenda Moore,
Yes.
Jack Nash,
Yes.
Bill Ostash,
Yes.
Fred Zawerko.
Yes.
Okay, then the special use permit for 1321 for marijuana establishment has been approved.
Forgive me, but the city clerk has informed me that if you abstain, you must first state the reason why you abstain and get the planning commission's approval. Is that correct?
think there were no votes rather than abstentions.
No,
Goodness.
I abstained.
Braley
Thomas
abstained.
Braley.
Do you want to give me a reason?
Conflict of interest.
Okay. So then we need approval. You said, Bob?
Amy, I'm sorry, the city clerk, Janet, suggested or said to me that it's up to the planning commission to allow that abstention. So they have to vote on that.
Okay.
Okay.
So are we
I'll make a
making a
motion.
mo- to accept his abstaining? I make a motion, we accept Tom Braley's abstention. Or abstaining.
Support. Support.
I'll second Ostash.
Okay, do we have any discussion on this motion? Okay, would you like to do another roll call, Cassie?
Sure. I guess Braley probably doesn't vote on this. Zenobia Dallas,
Yes.
Robert Hanley,
Yes.
Yolanda Jones,
Yes.
Brenda Moore,
Yes.
Jack Nash,
Yes.
Bill Ossash,
Yes.
Fred Zwerko.
Yes.
All right. Approved.
Okay. With that said, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn, Nash.
Thank you. Who's the second?
Brenda.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night,
Have a
everyone.
good night, everybody.